we have to be more calm and demure.
A couple of your own...
But I'm not calm, and I'm not going to submit myself to niceties. Not when this guy is trying to wreck our goddamn country.
In a moment in American history where we need leadership, where we need people to combat the mass secret police of Donald Trump, where we need people to push back against the policies of the Republican Party that are endeavoring to destroy the country, we've got a few people who are actually doing the work. There will be more, rest assured, there will be more, but it's going to take all of us signaling to them that we want our leaders to act more like people like Gavin Newsom and others. J.B. Pritzker. There's a few governors out there. Tim Walz, just to name a few. But there's not enough, certainly. But more will be joining them when they shed their fear and begin to actually fight. Having said that, yesterday, Gavin Newsom sat with a Politico moderator on a panel, him and another person. There were other speakers. It was like a 5-hour event, 5.5, 6-hour event. And for 53 minutes or so, Gavin Newsom sat on this stage and talked about the threats we presently are faced with by Donald Trump, the kidnappings on the street, our situation in this first clip we're going to talk about from an international relations standpoint, that leaders, world leaders, foreign leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. And by extension, by the way, it's not just laughing at Donald Trump. In that, you should read into that they're laughing at the United States, that our position on a global stage is diminished because Donald Trump is the president. Full stop. Big fat period at the end of that sentence. Watch Gavin Newsom in this about 1 minute clip really break down the people he has spoken to personally. I don't know that he names them, but they are laughing at Donald Trump. And then we'll get to some more, maybe more important and serious issues relative to the fascistic rule that Donald Trump is trying to put us all through.
So you signed this deal with the Danish foreign minister. I want to get sort of what you're hearing from others on this.
I don't want to ruin my source there.
I was going to say, in San Francisco last week, what are they saying right now about Trump?
Well, I won't talk about the conversation with our friends from Denmark, but I can.
You got the Greenland.
We didn't talk. Notably, we did not talk. The readout was we did not talk about Greenland. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of foreign leaders. I've had a chance.
What's the general? If not putting.
They're laughing behind his back. That did not happen. I'm making this clear.
They're
do not conflate what I just said with the meeting I had with the Denmark delegation.
Not wasn't them. Other foreign leaders are laughing.
I've had dozens and dozens. Ambassadors met with him.
What are they saying?
They're laughing behind his back. He's being played everywhere. It's an embarrassment. They are. I'm just telling you. That's universal. Universal.
Obviously, this is something we already know, whether it's just feeling it deep in our bones or the fact that we watch on their faces when they're in the room with him, that they feel derision about him. They roll their eyes. They mock him in Oval Office meetings, talking about North Korea and building Trump towers. I mean, it's becoming kind of a meme in and of itself. The thing that's not so funny, not so mockable, is the fact that Donald Trump is trying to destroy American democracy, but now he's in a position to actually do so by dispatching the cowards and the sycophants and the bootlickers, just these abject, dignity-free performers that he surrounded himself with, the most sycophantic lapdogs that he can find, he's put into positions of power. And in this clip, from this 53-minute or so panel, Gavin Newsom sounds the alarm like really nobody is in leadership in the Democratic Party about Donald Trump he's going to cancel elections. He is in public right now putting forth an effort to throw as many roadblocks into any progress Democrats can make electorally. And It's not being talked about enough. The alarm bell's not being sounded by these politicians. And finally, hopefully, they're waking up because Gavin Newsom is sounding that alarm.
I'm sick and tired of Democrats being on the losing end in this country and our democracy being on the losing end. We have got to fight fire with fire.
But I understand that's in Prop 50, but you're not saying you think Republicans are going to stop it.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. You think for a second I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
No, who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house? This is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No, this guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there, January 6th? I think Fox was. At least they were in a lawsuit. They seem to have lost any memory of that. Shareholders didn't. I mean, he tried to light democracy on fire. He dialed for 11, almost 12,000 votes. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And people said, oh, it's just Trump being Trump. People actually think this guy's serious about having another election? You think he's joking about 2028? You think when he brings foreign leaders to the Oval Office and he goes to the White House store, have you seen this? Anyone? Is it just me? And he shows them the 2028 hats? He's not being serious? Wake up. You will lose your country. Again, it's not about Democrats. It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's
I'm absolutely convinced.
2028.
You've seen it. He's tried to steal the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight this time. He wants to get rid of vote by mail. He's talking about eliminating voting machines he doesn't like. He's setting up the contours where he can declare a declaration of emergency for anything. Just cause means whatever he just said on Truth Social. He's running the greatest grift operation in world history. I mean, it makes some of these dictators overseas blush, the crypto, not just the perfume. I mean, come on.
Let me ask you about a couple of your...
Wake up, everybody. Wake up.
Let me ask you about a couple...
Excuse me, and I know it's impolite. We have to be more calm and demure.
A couple of your own...
But I'm not calm, and I'm not going to submit myself to niceties. Not when this guy is trying to wreck our goddamn country.
Thank you, Gavin Newsom. Thank you, Gavin Newsom, a man I have been critical of. I have offered my criticism and critique of his behavior just this last year. Thank you for bringing the energy and laying out a roadmap for how politicians should behave and speak about Donald Trump and what's taking place in this country. Thank you for modeling good behavior. Good behavior in word that is backed by action. I'm tired of politicians. We'll just use Cory Booker as an example. A guy who I generally like and respect. I've sat in rooms with. He's a passionate guy. I think he does have a good idea about what he wants for America, but it's words. He gets up on the floor of the Senate and gives fiery speeches about, I'm standing for Jersey, and then does nothing. Oh, no, he does not do nothing. Then he votes for Donald Trump's nominees to be ambassador to France. There's a disconnect between what is said and what is done. Not so with Gavin Newsom. There is a through line. He says it and he means it and he does it. This is what we need. We need this energy that you just watched from Gavin Newsom displayed by every single elected Democrat in the Congress. Every single one. Every Democrat who is in a governor's office needs to bring this energy, this frustration with losing. When did we become a party that's just like, oh, well, I guess Republicans. No. Bring the fight. Bring the fire. Bring a winning attitude. And bring messaging like Gavin Newsom. Finally, we are here where he is absolutely calling out what he sees on American streets, that Donald Trump, through an intimidation tactic, is dispatching not only the military to invade and occupy American cities, starting with Washington, D.C., he's also dispatching his own private masked secret police force, his kidnapping force, onto the streets of the United States to harangue, to harass, to intimidate communities all across the country. And I, for one, am here for this. Not the mass secret police, but calling it what it is, which is exactly what Gavin Newsom does in this clip.
Just 10 or so days ago, I don't know if Jim brought it up, but when we announced this campaign on the redistricting, we did so at the Democracy Center, Little Tokyo. The site, quite literally the sacred site where we were, United States of America and California, was interning the Japanese. At the exact moment, 2 U.S. senators, members of the Congress, hundreds of members, leaders in our community that were assembled at that exact same moment, Donald Trump sent masked men to the event, ICE and Border Patrol, primarily the Border Patrol, to intimidate folks. Poor guy who was selling strawberries was arrested. I imagine he must have been on the most wanted list, dangerous felon. Disappeared. That is a preview of things to come. Don't think for a second he's going to stop in the National Guard. It's an interesting fact. 4,000 National Guard were federalized, over 700 members of the United States Marine. 95% of them did nothing. They sat there looking for things to do. Hundreds plus $1 million wasted. Literally looking for an assignment. They were taken off the beat. These are police officers, your National Guard. These are firefighters. These are teachers. These are caregivers. They were taken off the streets doing real work to keep you safe and protected, to keep you healthy. And they sat there in the armory looking for something to do. He will send the National Guard. He will send them all across this country, and he will do so through Election Day. And if you think I'm exaggerating, consider the fact that as he demobilized our National Guard, he kept hundreds of them through Election Day. And he'll do so working in concert, as he has with ICE and Border Patrol, to do the same. You have the largest private police force in the world. When they're done with this, all that funding and that big, beautiful betrayal allows more resources for this private police force that increasingly is showing a tendency not to swear an oath to the Constitution, but to the President of the United States. And he'll be sending them to voting booths and polling places all across this country. This is a real and serious moment in U.S. history. And by the way, I say that as an American, not as a Democrat. Every Republican should be ashamed about this and scared to death about not just these authoritarian tendencies, but these authoritarian actions by the president. He is weak. He's weakness masquerading as strength. And that makes him more dangerous than most people believe.
It's like Gavin's watching my videos. Apparently, I have a part-time job that I'm not even on the payroll for, because these are the things I've been saying for years and years and years, that Donald Trump's weakness is a detriment to us all. It is a threat to us all. His deeply rooted insecurities will kill us all, because he wasn't hugged enough by his dad and he was hugged too goddamn much by his mom. That will be the death of us all. It will be the ruin of our democracy. At what point are people going to start asking themselves, man, it seems like it's not really a coincidence. Why are so many prominent Republicans wrapped up in this type of behavior? The Republican Party has become the party of child predation. The Republican Party is the party of Jeffrey Epstein. It's just the way it is. It's a party of projection. It's a party of blaming the other side for the thing that they are so desperately guilty of. You just, every time you hear about someone convicted of being a predator against children, invariably it's a Republican. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. This North Carolina county election chairman who has been arrested for, allegedly, it's not alleged that he was arrested, but the crime that he's alleged to have committed is dosing his granddaughter's ice cream with cocaine and ecstasy, MDMA. And this is a man who has been given power as an election chief in this county, a Republican. But first, let me remind you where we are in this country. Just a few days ago, when Donald Trump held his little weird press conference in the White House press room, and Kash Patel got up there and was ranting and raving about how they're stopping child trafficking while Donald Trump stands next to him and looks guilty as all with his face, whatever he's doing with his face, just trying to implode within himself, to make himself so small as to not be seen, as to not be recognized as the very threat that Kash Patel is describing. Remember this moment, and then we'll move on to the North Carolina story.
And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General with Pam Bondi, your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children.
What was he doing there? He's the representative of the Department of Justice, Donald Trump. Kash Patel is an employee of the Department of Justice, the director of the FBI, talking about how they're going to be holding these child predators accountable. They're going to be stopping child trafficking, all of these vile crimes. They are certainly vile, but they are certainly not being combated by Donald Trump's DOJ. DOJ is now holding secret, finally made public transcripts of meetings with Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted trafficker of children, giving her sweetheart deals. Possible work release from prison for Donald Trump's decades-long good friend, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the lover and co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein, his best friend of 15 years. The family of Virginia Giuffre, a victim of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, they had this to say about this meeting, about the Republican Party that is now protecting the violators of children's innocence. This is the article from NBC News. Justice Department gave Ghislaine Maxwell a platform to rewrite history, quote unquote. Family of Epstein accuser says. Virginia Giuffre's family said they are outraged by the agency's decision to release transcripts from Maxwell's bizarre interview with Deputy Attorney General, and they don't say it, but former personal defense attorney of Donald Trump, Todd Blanche. Quote, by moving convicted felon Maxwell to a minimum security country club prison, the DOJ sends a disturbing message that child sex trafficking is acceptable and will be rewarded, the family said Saturday in a statement. Let's break some of those words down before we get to this North Carolina story. Donald Trump's Department of Justice sends a disturbing message that child sex trafficking is acceptable and will be rewarded. Says the family of one of Jeffrey Epstein's hundreds of victims, of one of Ghislaine Maxwell's many, many victims, who is now being given preferential treatment by the Republican Party, by the leader of the Republican Party. So why would we question why there's so many Republicans? It's like this. Look, you find that these predators, these sick, twisted, vile, just sickening abusers of children, they find themselves, they gravitate toward jobs and associations that will kind of extricate them from suspicion. Your Jerry Sandusky types. That's why Catholic priests, they go into that. Oh, no one's going to question. I'm a mighty righteous man of God. No one's going to question what I'm doing. Coaches and little league coaches and teachers and cops oftentimes. It's because They think they can go into it and they'll be camouflaged by their position of trust in the community. It's the same with the Republican Party now. Where do you go if you want to prey upon children? You go to the party that acts like that's their whole job and role and focus is eradicating child victimization. And that's exactly what it appears happened here in North Carolina. Here's the headline from WRAL. North Carolina elections chair accused of putting cocaine, MDMA, in a granddaughter's ice cream. The chairman of the Surrey County Board of Elections was charged after Wilmington police said they found evidence he placed illegal narcotics in his granddaughter's ice cream. On August 8th, James Edwin Yokeley Jr., if the story wasn't so serious, I would be sitting here making a joke about this man from North Carolina whose last name has the word yokel in it. And he's a junior. This yokel told an officer that his 2 juvenile granddaughters found 2 pills in ice cream purchased from Dairy Queen on Oleander Drive. Investigators discovered video footage that showed Yokeley was responsible for placing the pills into the ice cream for both girls, police said. The pills tested positive for MDMA and cocaine, according to an arrest warrant. If you don't know, MDMA is ecstasy. It's also called Molly. It is typically a club drug, a sex drug. That this grandfather, this Republican, what's the purpose of putting a sex drug into your granddaughter's ice cream? Republican. Yokeley didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The girls did not consume the pills, which were sent to a state lab for further conclusive testing, police said. Yokeley was charged with contaminating food or drink with a controlled substance, felony possession of Schedule I narcotics, and felony child abuse, records show. He was transported to New Hanover County Detention Center and posted a $100,000 secured bond. In June, Yokeley, a Republican, was selected by State Auditor Dave Boliak to serve as chairman of the Surrey County Board of Elections. At what point are people going to start asking themselves, man, it seems like it's not really a coincidence. Why are so many Republicans? Why are so many prominent Republicans wrapped up in this type of behavior? I mean, we had a Republican Speaker of the House of Representatives who was outed as a rapist of children. The boys he coached while a wrestling coach. Dennis Hastert. Dennis Hastert. Look up Dennis Hastert. It's in their DNA. And again, let's finish where I started. The Republican Party is the party of child predation. It's the party of Jeffrey Epstein. It's the party of Donald Trump. How else would we figure they would comport themselves? What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm right. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate your participation. I appreciate you very much. So where's the controversy here? That people are being paid? That the Democrats are finally getting their shit together and trying to, in some way, imitate what the right wing has done with the media landscape? So yesterday, an article was posted in Wired magazine, online, by Taylor Lorenz. And I've been asked about this. I got text this. I got emailed this. People were calling about this, asking if I'm involved in this chorus program, this chorus outfit of Democratic creators. And let me just say, I'm not. I didn't apply to be involved. I wasn't invited to be involved. I have nothing to do with it. But that's not to say that I have a problem with what they're doing at all. In fact, I'm a little perplexed at why the controversy there, why there's any controversy at all over this article. Let me say this first and foremost, for those of you who have questions and were wondering about if I'm involved and if I'm controlled or if I'm influenced by the $8,000 a month that is being paid to some creators in this program. I'm not influenced by anything other than how I think about things. I don't get told what to say. I don't get pressured to say things. I am probably a problem for many leaders in the Democratic Party because I'm ungovernable. Because I don't owe anybody anything. I owe you the platform that I have. I owe no one. I never had any association with the Young fucking Turks. I've never done any of that. I've been just a one-man band for years and years and years and years, and I owe it to you. But let's get to this. In a moment where we have masked secret police kidnapping people off the streets of the United States, in a moment where we have the military invading and occupying cities, in a moment where they're canceling vaccines in America, why is this article important? In a moment where Donald Trump is openly, publicly discussing the rigging of the midterm elections and the general elections, why is this important? Now if you don't know, let me give you the headline and read a couple paragraphs, and then let's talk about this. This is from Taylor Lorenz, someone who strikes me as more of an influencer. She comports herself like an influencer. She behaves like an influencer. She yaps like an influencer. She didn't come across like a journalist. So again, I don't know her. Maybe I'm wrong about her. Correct me in the comments if I am. Here's from Wired. A dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. Pretty salacious, right? You would think, well, there's something really nefarious going on. Here are the first two paragraphs. I would recommend you go read the entire article to get the flavor for what I'm talking about. If you're unsure and you want to test my opinions against what yours are, after you read it, sure, do that for sure. In a private group chat in June, dozens of Democratic political influencers discussed whether to take advantage of an enticing opportunity. They were being offered $8,000 per month to take part in a secretive program aimed at bolstering Democratic messaging on the internet. But the contract sent to them from Chorus, the nonprofit arm of a liberal influencer marketing platform, came with some strings. Among other issues, it mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and had restrictions on what sort of political content their creators could produce. So where's the controversy here? That people are being paid to make content? Is the controversy that the Democrats are finally getting their shit together and trying to, in some way, imitate what the right wing has done with the media landscape? After all of the consternation after the Democratic National Convention and then after the loss of Kamala Harris that she faced in November, and all of the clamoring for needing a cohesive joining of a left-wing ecosystem in media, you would think this would be a welcome thing. This kind of smacks as a hit piece to me. I mean, maybe Taylor Lorenz has beef with Brian Tyler Cohen, who is associated with or founded or has some organizational control over this Chorus group. I don't know. I know Brian a little bit. We're friendly a little bit. Not a nefarious character. I certainly know David Pakman, who's involved. Certainly not a nefarious character. So where's the controversy? In a moment where we have secret police in the streets, masked, anonymous secret police kidnapping Americans, disappearing immigrants from the streets of America and sending them to countries, continents they've never been to, this is the controversy? Where's the problem? I don't get, and I'm not a part. I'm not funded. I'm not making $8,000 a month from these people. I mean, if you want to help support this work, become a channel member for $2 a month. Maybe we can get it to $8,000 a month. If you want to support independent media that has nothing to do with this and give me a little stipend, you go to my Patreon, patreon.com/iDataPodcast. Where's the controversy? Somebody explain it to me. because this is exactly what we need in this moment to combat through messaging, through media, through content. We need more voices, not fewer. We don't need bomb throwers like Taylor Lorenz to give aid and comfort to fascists, which is what is happening here. If your criticism of the Democratic Party is that they're finally getting their shit together, maybe it's time to analyze which side you're on, Taylor Lorenz. Because this isn't journalism. I don't know what this is. You seem far more at home on the TikTok than you do in traditional journalism. Maybe turn your pen or your writing toward the streets of America where people are being kidnapped and disappeared and sent to illegal concentration camps in the swamps of Florida. Maybe that. Maybe, just maybe do that. Because I can tell you, I welcome this. I'm not a part of this. I'm not paid by this, again. But I welcome this. Good for these creators who are messaging with positive messages, which are covering the fascism that is in the streets of America right now, who are talking about the plans to cancel the election in 2026 and 2028. Because let me tell you, Taylor, when all of us are gone and we've been silenced by the fascists, do you think you're going to be treated well, or are you just going to be the next target? I think that obvious answer is something you should think about. You should briefly give analysis to that which is self-evident, sister. Anyway, I didn't intend for this to be a message to Taylor Lorenz, who probably has no idea who the I am, but that's okay too. Anyway, hey, good for you, Brian and David and all the others that were mentioned in this article who are a part of this. Good for you. Keep doing what you're doing. Ignore the allies of fascists. And let me tell you, if you're giving aid and comfort, if you're creating distractions from what is taking place on the streets of America right now, you are an ally of Donald Trump. And we don't have any time or space for that.
Every school in the country should have a metal detector. You have them at airports.
There is no pile of dead children too high for Republicans. There is no amount of carnage in our schools, in our churches, at our malls, on our streets that will turn Republicans away from their wicked ways. Yesterday, there was a shooting in Minnesota, and 2 children were killed. More than a dozen, more than 15 were critically injured at the hands of a maniac shooter with 3 weapons. And it was as expected. It's like clockwork. All of the thoughts and prayers were being offered from on high, from the Republican ivory towers where they are safe within their secured buildings. All is an effort, all is a measure to distract from gun policy. The obvious solutions that are out there that other countries have somehow magically come to. Let me start by saying this. As I'm over a minute in here. I'm not opposed to gun ownership. It is a right enshrined in our Constitution, a document to which I swore an oath. I don't have a problem if you own a gun. Shotguns, rifles, pistols, have at it. Do your best. Fine. But we certainly need rules and regulations about who can acquire these weapons, who can carry these weapons, who can have access to these weapons to deliver sometimes at long range death and destruction. And certainly, look, as a former United States Marine, I don't believe that weapons of war should be openly carried and accessed by untrained regular citizens of the United States. No right is absolute. You don't have the absolute right to free speech. You certainly don't have the absolute right to weaponry. Try going and buying a nuclear weapon in a suitcase and tell me how you have, it's my freedom to carry whatever I want. You don't get to carry anti-tank weapons, AT-4s and the like. Yeah, no. That's a firearm, right? No. The AR-15 style weapon is a clone. Other than a 3-round burst and a couple of other options, it is the same as the M16. The M16A2 service weapon that I carried as a Marine. It's the same. It's the same powder load. It's the same caliber. It's the same. Sean Hannity yesterday attacked the truth tellers and then offered his own bit of advice. You won't be surprised to learn that the advice is that from a moron. But you also will not be surprised at who he's attacking in a moment where dead kids are now added to the list of the thousands of dead kids that the Republican Party enjoys in America. Watch as he attacks Jen Psaki in this moment.
Former Biden White House press secretary circle back Jen Psaki trying to pin the blame on Donald Trump with a bizarre tweet citing his efforts to crack down on crime in D.C., which, by the way, for the record, circle back, he has been enormously successful in doing. She wrote, quote, when kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe rethink your strategy. No, they've been stopping the murder rate, the homicide. We went 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks without a single murder. They usually have 3.6 a week. Maybe somebody at MSDNC can open a book, learn something about AI, do a little bit of research instead of just peddling lies and conspiracy theories. What about the dozens of the school shootings that have taken place, by the way, when Circle Back Psaki was press secretary? Did Biden do anything to prevent those?
It is fucking rich to hear Sean Dumb Guy Hannity tell anybody to read a book. The shadow chief of staff of Donald Trump telling someone to read a book, to do your research. The point she made was salient. It was absolutely true. You're not going to find solutions from these people. Sean Hannity gave his solutions, and you can tell me what you think of these before we get to debunking every single thing that he says. Keep in mind, by the way, that there was time before this broadcast. He's not speaking extemporaneously like I am right now. He's looking down the barrel of a camera, which in front of is a piece of glass with the words that he's speaking on it. He's reading from a teleprompter. These are prepared remarks. They had time to think about what they were going to write. And this is what he said.
And here's the saddest part. School shootings are preventable. And simple, basic, common sense actions can mitigate these tragedies. If we have the desire to stop school shootings, this is the first thing you should do. Every school in the country should have a metal detector. You have them at airports. You have them when you're around elected politicians. By the way, they have armed guards around them. You have to control the entry of kids and the perimeter around every school. And by the way I would do it, I would hire retired military, trained, law enforcement, retired, with concealed carries. They should be in every school in the country, along with metal detectors, along with a secure perimeter. Now, for these people that you hire, you could even do it and not pay them. What do you mean? Hannity, everyone's going to work for free? No, offer them tax incentives if they are willing to volunteer a certain number of hours a week. I believe these common sense practices would help mitigate these horrific shootings, probably put an end to it. And by the way, that means they pay no local taxes, no state taxes, no federal taxes. And if they put in enough hours, how about no estate tax if they pass away and they get to do what they want with the money that they've already paid taxes on? And, you know, the left's rush to immediately blame Republicans, race to blame guns for every tragedy. It's sad, but it's pathetic, but it's predictable.
He's right. They're preventable. They are preventable, these instances. But how would the first thing you should do to every school in the country is have a metal detector? You should control the entry of kids and the perimeter around every school. And then let the left rushes the rush race to blame guns for every tragedy. What are we supposed to blame? What are we supposed to blame, Sean? How would have a metal detector helped when the shooter, the unhinged maniac who killed children, targeted children, shot through the windows into the church, killing the children who were praying, literally praying in a worship service through the windows? Would a metal detector have helped that? Would a metal detector have magically dissipated the bullet's path? Sean Hannity? This is from CNN. The shooter, 23-year-old Robin Westman, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound behind the church after the shooting, officials said. The shooter graduated from the school in 2017, and Westman's mother worked at the school from 2016 to 2021. 5 years ago, the shooter's name was changed from Robert to Robin because Westman identified as a female, a judge wrote. Westman's uncle is Bob Helleringer, a former Kentucky lawmaker who called the attack an unspeakable tragedy. The weapons, Westman was armed with a legally and recently purchased rifle, shotgun, and pistol. Authorities believe all three weapons were fired. And in Minnesota, a permit is needed to purchase firearms and also to carry them in public. So this asshole, this killer of children, shot through the windows. All of Sean Hannity's ideas and solutions wouldn't have helped. And in many, many cases, they would not have helped. In fact, the officers, the authorities on the ground say that the doors were locked, which likely caused more of a problem here. The same thing that Republicans talk about wanting to harden the target. You want to lock the doors and make sure they can't get in. Well, the person couldn't get in. The shooter could not get in, but the bullets could. The device, the projectiles from the gun that apparently is blameless in this, they could get through the window, Sean. As you attack Jen Psaki as a distraction for your ineffectual, your fecklessness, your idiocy, your callousness, your sinister nature of defending guns over the lives of children. Because again, there is no pile of dead kids too high for Republicans. There is no Olympic-sized swimming pool filled to the brim with the blood of victims that is too much for Sean fucking Hannity. Because the guns, you can't blame the guns. Think about the guns, everyone. Fucking ghouls. Elections have consequences. That's what we're always told, right? We need to send a message through elections that this isn't the way we want to live. They're committing crimes in service to Russia, in benefit to our enemies, to hostile foreign actors like Vladimir Putin who have attacked our democracy. Let's wrap with this today. Donald Trump, how many times has he said, I'm going to hire the best people. I'm going to put around me the most fabulously intellectual and the people who have the most expertise in their particular field. And I'm going to put them all throughout the government to run it smoothly, competently. And then within months, he said Tulsi Gabbard was wrong about the one thing she should be right about, and that's the nuclear ambition and program of Iran. She was so wrong that he said it publicly. Yeah, she's wrong. We're going to bomb them. Seems like something you should lose your job over, right? Being wrong about something so fundamental to what you do as the national security director. Well, this very skilled, very articulate, wonderfully loyal is the thing that he cares most about. Tulsi Gabbard has outed a CIA agent, committed a crime in doing so. It is a felony. She does not have the power to do so. And she's tweeting about it and writing about it and promoting it. Here's a headline from the Daily Beast. Intelligence Chief Gabbard slammed for identifying undercover CIA officer. The covert official was included on a list of names shared by Gabbard online. Now, there's another element to this story that you might not have heard if you have heard about this. And it's that these people that she is outing, that she is harming, that she is putting in harm's way, work on the Russia desk. They work relative to our relationship with Russia, collecting intelligence, analyzing intelligence, so it can be synthesized and then morphed into policy of the United States of America. But because we have a sycophant for Putin in the White House, they don't really care. They want to dismantle the intelligence operations surrounding how we deal with Russia. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has been condemned for sharing the name of an undercover CIA officer on social media. She did it on Twitter. She ran to the Nazi Twitter to out this undercover CIA employee. On August 19th, Gabbard posted a memo on Twitter that included a list of 37 current and former officials who had been stripped of their security clearances, including those who had supported Trump's first impeachment trial or concluded that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Also included on the list was a senior CIA officer who had been working undercover, though Gabbard was unaware of this at the time. The director of National Intelligence was unaware. Oh, it just seems like you're not maybe doing your job, Tulsi. However, sources told the newspaper, the Wall Street Journal they're talking about, that Gabbard did not consult with the intelligence agency before posting the list of names to her 762,000 online followers. The CIA had no advance warning that Gabbard planned to publish the list, which her office had sent it to the agency the night before. Larry Pfeiffer, a former chief of staff at the CIA, told the Wall Street Journal that, quote, a smart director of national intelligence would have consulted with the agency before making any such list public in order to avoid exposing a covert officer. Quote, it could potentially put CIA cover procedures at risk. It could put relations with foreign governments at risk, Pfeiffer said. Brian Fiarchil, a retired career CIA operations officer, added on Twitter, Gabbard doesn't know squat about intelligence. She's simply a Trump lapdog who will do anything to stay in his good graces. And Trump hates the intelligence agencies. This is maybe the truest thing you're going to hear from this article. Donald Trump wants to dismantle our ability as a nation to conduct intelligence operations all across the globe, especially related to our enemies. His behavior has been on full display since 2018 when he stood shoulder to shoulder with Vladimir Putin and took Putin's side over our intelligence agencies. Treason, some would say. Some would say. The undercover CIA officer had worked in intelligence posts for more than 20 years and served as an expert on Russia and Eurasia on the National Intelligence Council between 2014 and 2017, according to the Wall Street Journal. On Thursday, the Washington Post reported that the CIA had fired its top Russia expert after Trump's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. The officer, who had nearly 30 years of experience, was also included on Gabbard's list of people whose security clearances were revoked. And then finally here, knowingly revealing the identity of a covert U.S. intelligence officer or agent is a felony, though it is unclear whether the law applies to disclosures made by government officials. Though it's unclear, we got to give them the benefit of the doubt, says the Daily Beast. We are in look, I always say, oh, we're in a tight spot. We're in a dangerous spot. This is going to endanger us all, that our country is in peril. All of those things are so true, but saying the same thing over and over, just people's eyes glaze over. They're committing crimes in service to Russia, in benefit to our enemies, to hostile foreign actors like Vladimir Putin, who have attacked our democracy election after election after election for the benefit of the dear leader, Donald Trump. And now they're dismantling our intelligence gathering operation surrounding that particular malign foreign influence, Vladimir Putin. And they're outing covert CIA officers in the meantime. This could do a lot. This could reveal methods and sources and methods. This could reveal collections. This could reveal other sources, people who were related to, not familially related, but professionally related. This could do untold damage. But she's not going to be punished because Donald Trump is president. This would be a federal crime. He would just pardon her if the DOJ were to. They're not going to. You think Pam Bondi's going to do something to Tulsi Gabbard? One more thing to be ignored by MAGA world. Anyway, I love and appreciate you. I want to hear from you on this. You can participate in this conversation in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it, Facebook, YouTube, or some other platform I don't know about. Please, hey, if there's another platform, let me know. Comment below or call the voicemail line. Leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work in independent media where I am told by no one what to say. I am influenced by no one on what I say and think. I'm here for you. You can click the join button below this video on YouTube to become a channel member for $2 a month, or you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast, which is the best option for helping support and produce this work. I would appreciate it very much. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.